Okay, so this is a tutorial on how to Photoshop vehicles. This is a tutorial specifically for the MightyCarMods Photoshop fan page, but the techniques in this video can probably be used for a number of things. These are just basic techniques. This is just basic Photoshop skills, and it could be used on pretty much anything, anything except organic. Photos with organic material in it, so that gets a bit more complex, but we're not going to go into that. The first thing I want to discuss before we go into what we're going to do to our Honda Civic Type R here is why this is a good photo to Photoshop and why this is not a good image to Photoshop. First of all, this picture is it's got very smooth, even lighting. This is important for photoshopping, and when it comes to realism, you want nice, easy, even lighting. It's also a good angle. This is it's not exactly isometric, but it's close enough to it. You can get a bit of the front bumper here, and you got the side, a good side shot of it. So this enables us to lower it, move it around, alter it in any way we want to. If we wanted to swap out the front bumper, we could also do that, but we're not going to cover that in this tutorial because then that gets a little bit more complex with a bit more things. But we'll do that on a later date if we need to. The reason why this is a bad image is because it's first reason, it's too dark. Okay, it's very difficult to find where the bottom of this car is. You can see it, but it's not great. All the blacks are crushed. There's not much color range in it. There's not much contrast. The other thing is we can't lower this vehicle easily without it looking really dodgy. Reasons being, it's got a very active background. Okay, we got grass, we've got organic material like it's plants. Grass is okay because you can just replicate it. It's a grass. It's not really much pattern to it, but a tree, it is difficult to replicate. The other thing that's also going to be near impossible is there's a car here that's moving. It's got motion blur on this car, which again is another reason why it's nearly impossible to make this look realistic when you lower it. Also, the front end is cut off. So, and the other thing you could really do is just give it some extra wheels. Really, maybe a spoiler, but it wouldn't look good. It's not a good image. It's a good resolution as far as images go. It's a nice resolution picture, but it's not a good picture to Photoshop. So we're just going to close this one down and get back to the Honda Civic. Now, what we're going to be doing to this Honda Civic is we're going to be, of course, lowering it. We'll be swapping out the rims, and we will also be, what else was it? Hang on. Yeah, I think that's about it. Lowering it and swapping out the rims, which is basically what most of us want to do anyway. When it comes to photoshopping, that's most of the requests that are on this page is lower it, put some rims on, lower it, put some rims on, lower it, put some rims on. So I'm going to show you guys how to lower it and put some rims on it. So first step is to lower it, because lowering it lets us know what we have to do to the rims. If there needs to be any alterations to the rims themselves after we've lowered it, like if any body panels are clipping, then we need to know what we're doing with the rims. So first things first is, I don't know if that beeping's going to come through or not. Perhaps doesn't like the fact that I'm using hot keys. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and select our polygon masking tool. If you can't see that, it'll be in the lasso tool, so you want to click and hold and get the polygon lasso tool. Some people like using the tragic wand tool, but that's just, it just selects off contrast, and this is a very, there's a mixture of contrast on this, and you won't get a good selection, so we're not going to even bother with that aspect of this tutorial. I hate it when programs do stuff for you. It just means it's taking less creativity away from the user and putting it into the software's hands, unless of course it's content aware. But we're not going to talk about content aware because it's witchcraft, and we don't negotiate with witches. So first things first, let's just start masking around the car. With the polygon lasso tool, obviously when you click you get a straight line, so if you want to do curves, click lots. Want straight, click less. Simple shit like that. There's probably an easier way to do this. This is the way I do it. Of course, if you were a pro, you wouldn't be watching this tutorial, so yeah. I think some people like to use the pen tool or the masking tool, whatever the hell you want to call it. Varies from software to software, but to get to mask it out. But I find this just a lot quicker rather than fucking around with handles and all sorts of shit. Because this has got such a good background, we don't have to be too exact. I'm going to chop out that antenna. That's intentional, but I'll fix that later. One thing to remember as well that I've got, if you look at the top of the screen, I've set this to a feather. I've got a feather on the mask. This is basically pixel blending, and it just makes the image look smooth. It won't give us any harsh, jagged edges. Usually I'd prefer less of a blending because this image is pretty pixelated as it is. I don't really want too much, so 1 pixel is enough. If you get really, really high definition images though, you might want to step it up to 2 pixel feather. Just really depends on the image. What the fuck's going on here? Yeah, sometimes it gets really fucking hard to see what's going on, and you just want to move a picture around to get a better idea. I think that's what it's doing. We're not going to get the wheel here. We're going to skip that because we're not lowering the wheels, we're just lowering the body panel. Sounds like common sense stuff, but I guarantee you someone would do it. So we're going to go up here. I think we only just got the last couple of wheel arches, last wheel arch, and then we're pretty much done with the masking or the selecting. Okay. So that's the body masked out there. Now, what's important to realize at this point is that Photoshop works in layers. It's like Shrek and onions. Okay, it's the way images are sorted out. So if you've got a 3-layer image, obviously the layer on the right here is going to be on top, and the layer beneath is going to be, underneath. You can simulate 3 dimensions in 2D images. So what we're going to do is, because we can't edit this background, I mean you can, but we're not going to edit the background. The background there is there as a fail-safe. Okay, so if we fuck up and realize we can't undo it enough, or it's too much work to undo, we can go to the background and try and rip some stuff from the background and fix up our mistakes. And we're also going to name our layer. Naming layers is not crucial, but it's a good idea if you have any intention on photoshopping large files. So the reason why we do this is so we don't get confused. You have to click around through layers and figure out what the fuck we're doing. So we're going to call this background copy, because that's just the background copy. And from here, we're going to, with this masking tool still selected, the polygon lasso tool selected, we're going to right click, and we're going to go via layer copy. Now what this has done, it's going to separate our body here from the rest of the background. So we'll turn those 2 back on, and there's our body. We're going to rename this layer by double clicking on the text. I'm going to call it body because that's what it is. This is body. Okay, now in order to lower it, we're going to get our selection tool, or just press V on your keyboard as a shortcut, and we're going to just drag it. Make sure you have the layer selected. Hold Shift and lower it. Actually, Hold Shift won't work with this angle, so just move it around until you feel like it's in a good height. I think that one is fine there. Obviously you'll notice now that we have a duplicate of the car in the background, and this is why we have this background copy here. This is going to be called, we're going to call it background fix, because that's what we're going to be doing, fixing the background. So we've got a lot of this nice gravel and cliffside in the background here, which is going to be really easy to edit. What's Premiere flashing at me for? What do you want? Oh, yeah, fuck you. I'll close you. No. Yeah, okay. So we're going to be getting rid of this in the background. So the easiest way to do it is with the stamp tool. Now how the stamp tool works is you can alt click, and that's your sample, right? So your paintbrush will be sampling from where you alt click. So if I click here, it'll be painting stuff from there. You kind of see you got a preview half there. In some cases you can use this content aware tool, but only on usually on pretty small things. So the Honda badge, perhaps, it didn't really work. Actually, what the clipping tool will probably work really well on, the clipping tool, the content aware, is probably this text down here. Yeah, so that text is gone. It's a lot easier than doing it ourselves and looks pretty good. So, but for big things, you're better off using the stamp tool. So we're just going to alt click up on this hill here and just bring that, just lots of little clicks usually fix it up nicely. And just blending it in, just so you can try and crop out this car here. Changing your selection places regularly so you don't get repeats, because repeats in images stick out like a sore thumb. Is that a thing? Is that a saying? Stick out like dog's nuts, is that better? Let's bring this down. Oops, a little bit too aggressive there. Just Control-Alt-Z that and undo that. Using the square brackets, we'll take our brush size down. And there we go. So we've got that car pretty much lowered. There's a little bit of a discrepancy up here. Inconsistency, probably a better word. There. Wonderful. So that car's now lowered. A little bit of a. There's a little bit of a image inconsistency in there, but you can fix that up with the paintbrush a little bit later, which we're not going to bother with for this tutorial. Next step would be to do the rims. So I've already got an image of rims that I've got ready to go. This is an image just from these just work rims. I don't know what you want to call them, but this is a PNG. You can tell because it's already been keyed out for me, so I have no white borders or anything like that. If you do get a rim with white, just with a white background, you're gonna have to do the same thing we did here with the shaft, with the body. Is just clip around it. What you can do though is, if you get on with just plain white background, you can go to the eraser tool and go magic eraser, and that'll get rid of all the white. Of course, if it's got a gradient in it, the white's not going to work. So this wheel image here is it's a solid image. It can't be edited at this stage, so to get it, in order to be able to edit it, we have to rasterize it. So we get our eraser tool with the layer selector, just click on it, and the thing will give us an option. The object needs to be rasterized to a smart object. Oh, the smart object must be rasterized. So we're going to go OK, and that just becomes an editable image that we can play around with. As you can see here, it's not on the right layer, so we're just going to click and drag that up to the top, and that's in the right place. Now, the other reason I chose this rim is because it's at a similar angle to the rims that are already on this car. We've got the wall here, we've got the wall there. One thing that's bad about this image is we actually have the full rim. So in order to get rid of that, we go back to our polygon lasso tool with our one pixel feather, zoom right in, and we're just going to have to roughly select the outside of this rim here. And we'll just delete that, and then Control D to deselect. And voila! So that's that done. Of course, we just put that over that rim. We're not going to. Obviously, it's the wrong size, but you can see there's actually a rim there. So we're going to go down to the bottom here and go a new layer, and we're going to put it below the body, but above the background. And we're going to go get our paintbrush tool, which is here. And we're going to hold Alt and click in here, and that'll give us the right color. I'm assuming it's just straight black. No, it's a little bit off black. Okay. So that, and then what we're going to do is with this brush tool, we're going to make sure that our hardness is set up to about 95%. And over the rim, we're just going to, lots of clicks, lots of small clicks, just black them out. This is important so you can get the rim to look like it's actually part of the car and not just whacked over the top of the other rim that's already there. I know some people like to erase and replace and just do all kinds of stuff. This is my preferred technique. Don't forget to do it to the other rim as well. Top and bottom there. Paintbrush, similar to the size of the rim, is going to help you out as well, because you get round edges rather than having to do it all freehand. It's not the smoothest, but that'll do. So now we got kind of looks cool. I got the blacked out rims now, which means we can put we can put the these rims on top. So the first step is to press Ctrl T to open our free transform options, and we're going to get it to about a similar scale. So that's pretty close. And then from here we're going to go Edit, Transform, and use our Distort tool. You can use Perspective, but I find Distort is a lot, you got a lot more control over where the rim sits. So we're just going to match it up. So using these 4 corner points, we're going to distort the rim until it fits nicely in there. Once that's done, we press OK, and we have one rim in place. Then we can duplicate that layer and slide it on over and do the same thing. So we're going to go Edit, Transform, Distort. We'll zoom right in here. See, it's pretty pixelated, but it doesn't really bother me too much. There and there. Zoom out. That looks pretty good. The one thing you'll be noticing is there's no brakes behind that. I'm aware, which is why I got these. This is an image that hasn't been keyed out. This is just a JPEG, so this needs to be fixed. So we're going to use our Magic Eraser tool. We're going to rasterize the image. Get rid of that, and all these little holes in here. Okay, so I bet you it's going to have a problem with this. Oh no, it's fine. Bada bing, bada boom. Alright, so that's that done. I'm going to duplicate this layer. Rear brakes. I'm going to call these ones front. O in the word front. And select this one, move it over here, Control T, shrink it down a bit to about the size we want it, rotate it to the angle you want it, put that one there for the time being, Control click to select this one, Control T, shrink that down, rotate it to the direction we want it to be, shrink it down to about the size, oh that's way too fucking big. Control click. This one needs to be smaller again. There, enter. So they're in place. We got obviously they're on the right layer, but that's intentional because we need to be able to see what we're doing. So we're going to press Control T. Oops, no, we're not. We're going to edit, transform, distort, and we're going to basically match these rims up to the brake calipers up to the rims. Doesn't need to be perfect, as these are actually just there just for filler to make the rims look right there. And I'm going to put it behind the wheel and just fix the position up a little bit. Good. Same with the front ones. Edit, transform, distort, and we're going to do the same thing. Squish it up a little bit. Put it up here. Make it a little longer. Put it behind, press enter, we're going to put it behind the wheel. That's perfect. They're a little bit too bright, so what we're going to do is we're going to get those two, we're going to merge those layers so merging them so they become all the same. The front and back ones are now combined. And we're going to call these brakes because that's what they are. Do the same with the rims just to flatten out this image. We're going to merge the layers. We're going to call them rims. I'm going to call this layer black. What was I doing? Oh shit, yeah. So once we got the brakes layer selected, we're going to go image, adjustments, brightness and contrast, and just slide the brightness down a little bit. Right there, and lower the contrast just a little bit because this image is kind of washed out. So I'm going to drop down the contrast just a little. Done. So yeah, that's the Photoshop tutorial on how to lower cars and swap rims out. If this needs if we need more things covered, I can come back again and revisit this. But for now, that's it. I'm going to file, save as, the Photoshop tutorial, save it as a PNG. Honda, bitch.